Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is the latest MCU project to release in theaters, just came out last weekend. Of course, if you haven't already, make sure to check out both my non-spoiler review, my spoiler review, and my post-credit scenes breakdown as well. But one of the biggest controversies with this film was MODOK. So if you have not seen the movie yet, of course, big spoilers ahead, so spoiler warning right now. Click away if you've not seen the movie, because we're talking full spoilers specifically about MODOK. So, like I said, big complaint about MODOK is the CGI wasn't great. Oh, they did a disservice to the character from the comics and all this stuff. Because, of course, in this movie, MODOK is played by Corey Stoll. It's his big return. Of course, he played Darren Cross, Yellow Jacket, the main villain of the first Ant-Man movie. At the end of that film, he got shrunken down in the quantum realm, and we see him make his grand return here as MODOK, where he looks like this. And, yeah, it looks ridiculous. It looks really weird, but then again, that's how MODOK is supposed to look in the comics. But then again, you look at this and you definitely think, yeah, that's just like Mr. Electric from Shark Boy and Lava Girl, which I grew up loving that film, so I have no major complaints there. And actually, in all honesty, personally, I didn't mind his look. I actually think he looked really good. Like, sure, do I wish he had the hair and all that stuff? Yeah, but I think this worked for what they were going for with this version of MODOK. This looked like what Darren Cross would look like if he became MODOK. And the CGI, I think, actually looked fairly good. I don't think it looked bad. It's just, it's the whole uncanny valley effect that we've seen a lot of projects suffering from lately. She-Hulk is a big one, where we know that it's Corey Stoll's face, so with it being, like, disformed and like just weird looking and through the computer CGI procedure, it just looks weird to us, especially when we're hearing Corey Stoll's regular voice come out. So that's one of the biggest reasons why it looks so funky. But the only thing I really didn't like about MODOK in this movie was just the fact that he had this redemption arc at the end. He became kind of a hero and he ended up dying, which then again, to be fair, I did really enjoy the joke about him becoming an Avenger, and he's like, oh, at least I died an Avenger. Like, that was hilarious. I absolutely loved that part. Literally, avenge the fallen, rest in peace, MODOK. He will be sadly missed. Or will he? Because MODOK is apparently going to make his grand return, because Film Odyssey, a scooper on Twitter, just put this tweet out there saying, you'll see him again. And probably not the backside, but at least we'll be seeing his big face again. So Film Odyssey is claiming that MODOK will make his grand return to the MCU. And this shot right here was also one of the most shocking parts of the whole movie for me, because I did not expect to see that side of MODOK, but we did. And so now MODOK may be making another return in the MCU, which I think would actually be amazing, because, again, I love MODOK from the comics. I would obviously love to see more MODOK. One of the biggest things about MODOK in this movie that upset me was just that he died and we're never going to see more of him again in the future, or so I thought. And this could also be a Taskmaster situation or a Mandarin situation, where they really screwed up those characters the first time around, but then they brought back the Mandarin and did a better version of that in Shang-Chi. They are bringing back Taskmaster and doing a better version in Thunderbolts. And they could bring back MODOK and do a better version in some other future project as well. But there's, of course, a couple different ways they could go about doing this with the return of MODOK, the mental organism designed only for killing. There's option number one, where we bring back this version of Darren Cross, aka MODOK, and either they bring in a variant of this character, which is totally possible. I mean, we're in the multiverse saga right now. That's a huge possibility. Or more likely, it could be that he just is not dead. I mean, sure, we saw him die, but he could totally be alive. Like I would have loved a post-credit scene for this movie where he wakes up outside of the quantum realm and he's alive. That would have been awesome. That would have been great to see. Or what I think they are more likely to do is take the Mandarin approach and do a different, more comics accurate version of MODOK, where you actually do, instead of Darren Cross, do the George Tarleton version of this character, where he is this scientist. He works for AIM, aka Advanced ID Mechanics, which was an organization set up in Iron Man 3. So it would be great to be seeing them in that version of MODOK, the leader of AIM. I think that would be cool to see. You know, the beekeeper suits and all that stuff. That would be awesome in live action in the MCU. So do George Tarleton, do his whole origins. He starts off this crazy mad scientist. He ends up becoming this deformed, deranged creature, MODOK, the mental organism designed only for killing. We could even get a much more a comics accurate look here as well. One of the biggest fan casts, you know, before we even knew MODOK was coming to the MCU, was Peter Dinklage. And I've always thought this would be a great cast. I'm a huge fan of Peter Dinklage. I think he's an amazing actor, and he just has the look for MODOK. Like, just look at this right here. Because MODOK is a character in the comics. Well, first let's start by talking about Darren MODOK. So Darren MODOK, not only does he look ridiculous, but in this movie, all that happens is he's made fun of. And that's kind of how it is in the comics, except he doesn't look well, he does look ridiculous. I mean, this still looks ridiculous. Like, it's a giant floating head with baby arms and legs and like a tiara that shoots lasers, basically. Like, MODOK is supposed to be a ridiculous looking character, but the thing that makes MODOK special, that they really did not capture, at least not too much in this movie, they did a little bit, at least at the beginning, is that MODOK takes himself super seriously. Like, the one thing I did like about Darren is that when he kept saying, like, Darren, I'm not Darren anymore, there's only MODOK, because he thinks that him becoming MODOK is this great thing that just made him super powerful and like an even better villain than he was before when he was a regular sized human being. So I think that's something that they could really capture here. And I mean, just looking at this art right here, this is kind of a scary looking dude. And this definitely looks like this would be the type of MODOK that would take himself seriously. He would think he's this big bad villain that's like ultra powerful and everything. But then again, he's just a giant floating head. So like everybody's going to make fun of him, and it would also be really funny at the same time. So I think that would be great to see. There's also this great artwork I found on Instagram of just taking the look of Darren MODOK from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and just the slight changes you can do to make him look like he was literally ripped straight out of the comics. Adding the hair, the white eyes, the dark circles around the eyes. Like, this looks so comics accurate, and I wish this is what we got from the MCU, because this would have been a great version of MODOK. What we got, again, I don't hate it. I would still call it a good version of MODOK, but this right here, this would have been a great version of MODOK. And now, apparently, according to Film Odyssey, MODOK is coming back at some point in the MCU. Again, we don't know if it's going to be the same version or if it's going to be a new version of MODOK, but either way, if and when he does return, I hope he looks at least something similar to this design right here, because this would be absolutely amazing. So anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about this rumor that MODOK may return? What did you think about MODOK in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? And if he does return, would you want it to be the same Darren Cross MODOK, or would you want it to be the more comics accurate looking George Tarleton version of the mental organism designed only for killing? So, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the Marvel life.